what's up? It's Lady Calysta. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a new game called Mobile Raid that just came out. I'm going to include the link to download below in the video description. Now this video is sponsored by the developer of the game. And let's jump right in. So the game itself is actually quite interesting, and I'm going to show you guys as much as I can in this very first video. I am going to be doing two parts about Mobile Raid just because there's so much to cover. So the first thing that I wanted to show you guys is the progress management. So this game has a variety of different things that you can kind of do and that you really have to focus on in order to progress appropriately. And I'm kind of showing you guys a listing, and I'll go through all of this so you guys can kind of understand how it works. But in general, you are responsible for basically progressing a city. And you can see that I have 2 construction slots available. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I always have a construction going on. So typically, I always like to focus on research and construction, research over anything else, to be perfectly honest. But there is a variety of different things that you have to be mindful of here that I want to make sure you guys are also mindful of and continuously progressing. So you want to make sure that you have your construction slots always kind of going on. And I'm showing you guys kind of the overall view of my city, and you can see that I have a training ground where I just picked up a couple of troops. So wanted to show you guys, this is in the training grounds is where you can basically train your infantry. So wanted to show you the different types of infantry. This is my ghost hunter. I have my sharp flame. That I think is so cool, my cyber wolf. And you're going to notice that this game incorporates kind of like warfare and mechs all together, which is pretty cool. Now, what you're also going to notice is in order to do things like recruiting, like training, like certain types of production, you are going to need to have a hero assigned to it. So this is going to be my air-based attackers. And just like I mentioned before with infantry, there are 4 types to my air-based attackers, right? And as I'm progressing in the game, I am able to unlock those kind of higher level attackers. So you always want to make sure you're creating the ones that have kind of the highest level as opposed to overly focusing too much on the level 1s. So in this case, you can kind of see here, these are my mech attackers, which I think is so cool. There are 4. There's 4 throughout the game. So there's basically 16 different types of attackers in the game that you'll be able to access and different levels within that. And depending on when you're attacking, let's say a non-playable character or another character, different mixes will do different things, right? You can see this is my 4th type. Kind of like heavy duty vehicles, right? And you're going to notice that I am supposed to basically assign one of my heroes to each of these basically activities. And the heroes that I assign need to basically meet the criteria. So then the next thing that I wanted to show you guys is some of the research that we can do. So there's a ton of research in this game, and the research is basically going to do a couple of things. It's going to help you make sure that your city is progressing at a strong rate. It's going to help you increase your production. It's going to help you attack more efficiently. From a war perspective, right, you kind of see that at the bottom there was that kind of war piece, and I'm just going through the progress management tool just to again show you guys that there's so much going on. You also want to make sure you're continuously hiring heroes, and as you saw, and I'll go into this in a lot more detail in just a bit, but this game is very hero heavy in the sense that really to do any of the major functions of the game, you do need to assign a hero to it. So you want to continuously be hiring heroes. And when you're hiring heroes, you want to make sure that the hero you've assigned to that specific task has a very high level of charisma, because that's going to help make that much easier. Now, there's also crafting in the game, so I wanted to show you guys that. There's 5 different types of crafting that you can do, and each of the types of crafting really impact the type of hero that you're focusing on, right? So CHA, that's charisma. We have war, we have government. Government is going to help with things like production. Com is going to help with things like if you need to increase, that's your command. If you need to increase the number of troops that you're sending out in a march, you want to make sure that your particular hero has a high level of command, because that's going to help you send even more troops out. And as you're fighting some of the harder NPC characters, the level of command of the heroes that you are deploying is going to matter a whole lot, because it can really impact just how many troops you can send out. Same thing with things like production and intelligence. You want to make sure that you are stacking your heroes the right way. And for things like research, I know that I've been held up on a particular research because I'm working on some of the stats for a couple of my heroes to be high enough to unlock the type of research that I want to work on. So that's another thing to kind of be mindful of. So again, just checking my progress management, making sure that I have everything kind of going on. And this is what you want to do often to make sure that you're not kind of like sitting still on something that needs to be happening. So you can kind of see, I'm just kind of scanning through my city to make sure that everything is happening. And then what I did was I went to the map view. So wanted to check out what this looks like. So you can see I kind of have my main kind of stronghold. And what I did here is basically show you guys the different levels that each of the lands has. So now some of the lands are going to be more susceptible to give you different types of materials versus others. And what you have to do is basically conquer those lands. You have to conquer those lands even if they're completely blank. And that is going to be something that from a mission perspective, they'll continuously tell you. You can see here, you're able to fight mech armies, mutants, you're able to look for mines, and you're able to conquer lands. And conquering land is going to be a mission that you're going to have throughout the game, where it'll tell you you have to conquer at least 30 lands or 24 lands, and it'll kind of keep moving from there. And you have the opportunity to do different things on those lands. So you can build production facilities, right, where you're basically using the lands for their resources, or you're able to build fortresses on your land. But all of those things are beneficial. With the fortress, you're able to actually store troops there, and you're able to store some of your commanders there. Now, what I'm doing here is, even though I own these lands, sometimes you'll have the NPC characters will kind of plunder it. So in those cases, you want to make sure you go in and get rid of them. So here I'm showing you what it looks like when you attack. And as I mentioned before, your heroes are super important. So I'm going to pick heroes that have the highest level of command, because that's going to give me the opportunity to send the most amount of troops. You can see these are all the troops that I have available. They have a really cool kind of quick access where you can just kind of quickly pick out your troop composition automatically. If you want to pick your heroes manually, you can do that and then automatically pick your troop comp, or you can do it completely automatically from the beginning. It totally depends on kind of what you want to do. And there's different types of heroes that you can send out, right? You're going to have your war heroes versus the other heroes that you just saw kind of populate there. And what I'm doing here is basically just getting rid of all of the plunderers that are stealing my resources. So you want to make sure that you're constantly looking at the map and making sure that if there are plunders on your land, that you're kind of clearing them. You want to make sure you're getting rid of the mutants. Again, they're all going to give you a lot of loot, and that loot you can then use for construction, for research, for training, for all the things that I showed you guys just a little while ago in the progress meter. And the game itself will also give you recommendations of places that you should be conquering, right? So it basically highlighted that for me because it knows that that's the next mission that I'm working on, which is conquering lands, and it makes it very easy for you. So it'll give you an idea of the type of land that you can conquer. Here I'm just showing you guys that you can build, as I mentioned before, fortresses or production centers. You do have the opportunity. The game is split into 3 different sections from a resource level. Right now I'm in resource level 1. I'm working on the research for resource level 2. I will put that in the next video so you guys can kind of check out what that looks like. That's pretty important. And you can kind of see me here progressing through my research tree. So there's a lot of research. And what I'm showing you guys here is, I mentioned this before, you can get stuck on a specific activity if you don't have the right heroes. So you always want to be hiring. You always want to make sure you're crafting. Improving your hero stats is going to be super important. And I'll show you guys a more kind of comprehensive view of what all the heroes look like together. And we'll talk about their stats a little bit, because you saw what happened before. I wasn't able to complete that research, not for anything other than I just don't have a hero with a high enough level required to basically sponsor that research, so to speak. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you guys about as I'm wrapping up this first video are the heroes. So right now you can see I have 27 out of 90 heroes. So there's a lot of heroes, and what I would call attention to you guys is please look at the bottom left-hand corner, and you can see the 5 statistics that we talked about, right? Command, intelligence, government, war. So all those things, charisma, again, all those things are super important, and I'm just kind of mousing over them so you guys can see. They're really important because certain heroes are going to be really good for certain things depending on how they are stacked. So if you have heroes that are really high from a government perspective, make sure that when you're creating your production buildings that those are the heroes that you're putting there. If you have a hero that has very high charisma, that's probably the hero that you want out there recruiting, right? So they explained that early on in the game, but I think that is something that is quite unique here, and you want to make sure you're mindful of it. Like you can see this guy, you definitely don't want him recruiting. He is not very charismatic at all, but he's great from a war perspective, right? And his command. So that's where you would use him. And each of the characters has their own kind of unique set of abilities. As you're doing crafting, you want to make sure that you're crafting them to suit their strong suits. So that's definitely something that you want to be mindful of as you're kind of progressing through the game. Now, hopefully this was helpful. I'm just showing you guys, if you have questions, the game is really user-friendly. It will give you additional information in terms of what everything means, so you don't have to take notes while I'm talking. But stay tuned for the second video. I'm going to show you guys some of the more complicated things. We can also do sieges on cities. I really want to get that on video for you guys, as well as kind of moving from one resource land to another, working on unlocking that research to show you guys. So if you have any questions, let me know. Again, the link to download the game is located in the video description, and as usual, thank you so much for watching.